He sat alone at a table meant for two, waiting on a blind date who never showed, until a 5-year-old girl walked up to him, smiled, and said, "Mommy's single. She needs a man." What began as an awkward interruption turned into an invitation. And by dessert, the billionaire who had everything realized he was missing the only thing that mattered: a reason to stay. Hello family, welcome to True Life Stories. Please subscribe and leave a like for us, it means the world to us. Also share this video to your friends and loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you as you do so. Sit back and relax as we dive into the story. The soft hum of jazz music drifted through the luxurious dining room of Le Maison Dorée, the kind of upscale restaurant that made headlines for its waitlist and Michelin stars. The lighting was warm and ambient, casting a golden hue on white tablecloths and glittering wine glasses. Seated at a corner table reserved for discretion and status, Nathan Cole checked his watch for the third time in 10 minutes. 7:42 p.m. He exhaled quietly through his nose and folded his hands on the table. He wasn't used to being made to wait, especially not by a woman he hadn't even met yet. His assistant had set this blind date up through a mutual acquaintance who claimed the woman was beautiful, refined, and worth your time. Nathan had reluctantly agreed. At 36, he had built an empire in the tech world, graced magazine covers, and amassed wealth that most people only read about. Yet, for all his business acumen and confidence in the boardroom, his personal life remained sterile. No one had ever intrigued him for long. His phone buzzed beside the dessert spoon. A message from his assistant. "Still no sign of her? Want me to call the concierge?" Nathan didn't answer. He leaned back in his chair, scanning the room. Couples clinked glasses over candlelight, waiters glided by with elegance, and he was here alone again. His dark navy suit, tailored to perfection, now felt like overkill. He picked up his glass of water and took a slow sip, masking the dull irritation brewing in his chest. He could leave. He should leave. But before he could summon a waiter, a small voice interrupted him. "Excuse me, mister." He blinked, lowering his glass. Standing beside his table was a little girl, no older than 5. She had a mop of curly hair tied up in pigtails, wearing a sparkly pink dress, and eyes so big and curious that for a moment, Nathan wasn't sure if he was being pranked. "Mommy's single. She needs a man." The words came out in one breath, like she had practiced them. Nathan stared at her, stunned. "What?" he asked, blinking slowly. The girl grinned. "She's really pretty and nice. And she makes the best spaghetti. Want to meet her?" Before he could respond, a flustered voice came rushing toward them. "Lily. Oh my God, Lily. I told you to wait by the hostess stand." The child turned around innocently as her mother reached her. Nathan's eyes followed, and for the first time all night, something in him genuinely stirred. The woman, Claire Bennett, was in her late 20s, early 30s at most. Her wavy hair framed a naturally pretty face flushed with embarrassment. She wore a modest green wrap dress and carried herself with an elegance that seemed entirely unintentional. No designer logos, no exaggerated makeup, just real beauty and quiet confidence. "I'm so sorry," she said, guiding Lily away from the table. "She's very friendly." Nathan chuckled under his breath, still a little taken aback. "It's okay. She's got guts." Claire gave him an apologetic smile. "She saw you sitting alone and thought she'd do some matchmaking. We were just passing by the restaurant." He glanced at the hostess stand, where a few curious onlookers watched the scene unfold. Then, to his own surprise, Nathan stood up slightly from his chair and said, "Would you both like to join me?" Claire hesitated, visibly caught off guard. "Oh, I couldn't. You're waiting for someone." He gave a half-smile. Doesn't seem like she's showing up." Lily tugged at her mother's hand, beaming. "Can we, Mommy? You said we'd do something fun." Claire looked between Nathan and her daughter, clearly weighing the risks. "Just dinner," he added, sensing her reluctance. "You'll be doing me a favor. I'd rather not eat alone." After a long pause, Claire exhaled. "All right, just dinner." Nathan motioned to the waiter for 2 extra settings. As Claire helped Lily into the seat beside her, Nathan felt something shift, subtle but undeniable. He had come for a date with a stranger and ended up sharing a table with a single mother and her daughter. It should have felt awkward. Instead, for the first time in what felt like forever, he was genuinely curious. And he didn't want the night to end just yet. The waiter returned with a polite smile and 2 extra place settings, clearly masking his surprise as he laid out silverware and menus for the unexpected guests. Nathan watched Claire as she settled Lily into the seat between them. She moved with quiet efficiency, pulling Lily's napkin onto her lap and whispering something in her ear that made the little girl giggle. It was domestic, simple, and oddly grounding. Nathan cleared his throat and picked up his wine glass. "Would either of you like something to drink?" Claire glanced at him, amused. "Unless you've got apple juice in that wine list, I think we'll stick with water." Lily bounced lightly in her seat. "I like apple juice. And grape juice. But only the purple kind. Not the weird green one." Nathan nodded solemnly. "Noted. Purple juice only." Claire gave him a look, half smile, half surprise. "You're handling this a lot better than most people would." He shrugged. "I've had worse dinner company. At least Lily's honest." Claire laughed quietly, and Nathan realized it was a sound he wanted to hear again. It wasn't polished or performative. It was real. As the waiter returned with drinks, Lily launched into a monologue about her favorite cartoons, her kindergarten teacher named Miss Wendy, and a class turtle named Captain Pickles. Nathan listened, nodding like he was in a boardroom, but his eyes occasionally flicked back to Claire. She caught him once and raised an eyebrow. "You okay?" He set down his glass. "Yeah. It's just, this is the most interesting dinner I've had in months." Claire smiled, but there was a shadow of caution in her eyes. "You don't have to be polite. We can go if it's too much." "I don't want you to go," he said, perhaps too quickly. Then, more composed, "I mean, you're not bothering me." She tilted her head slightly, studying him. "You're not what I expected. Neither are you." That made her smile again. This time it lingered. They ordered. Claire went for the grilled salmon, Lily requested the noodles that looked like ribbons, and Nathan ordered the filet mignon. As they waited, the conversation wandered. Nathan told them about the time he got stuck in a Tokyo elevator with a malfunctioning robot receptionist. Claire laughed until she had to wipe her eyes, and Lily insisted he tell it again, then tried to act it out. Claire shared how Lily had once tried to sell handmade friendship bracelets to strangers at the park, with price tags. "Entrepreneur in the making," Nathan said, impressed. There was no flirting, no forced small talk, just a flow of conversation that felt easy. At some point, Lily rested her head on her mother's shoulder, eyes drooping. Claire kissed the top of her head, gently brushing a curl back. "You two seem really close," Nathan said quietly. Claire nodded. "It's just been us for a while. You learn to depend on each other." "Where's her father?" The question slipped out before he could stop himself. Claire didn't flinch, but her posture shifted. "Not in the picture. And that's probably for the best." Nathan sensed he had stepped into territory not yet open to him, and he nodded respectfully. "Understood." For a few moments, silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, but reflective. Then Claire said softly, "I'm sorry your date didn't show." He smirked. "I'm not." She blinked, surprised. "You're not." He glanced at Lily, who was now fully dozing in her seat. "If she had, I would have missed this." Claire looked at him for a long time. There was a warmth there, but also a deep wariness. He could tell she was someone who had been through something, and trust didn't come easy. So he didn't push. Didn't flirt. Just smiled, genuine and gentle. As the waiter returned with the check, Nathan reached for it without hesitation. Claire raised a hand. "You don't have to." "I want to." She opened her mouth to argue but thought better of it. "Thank you." He watched her lift Lily into her arms, carefully balancing her sleeping weight. There was something indescribably graceful about it, strength and softness, all at once. As they reached the entrance, Claire turned to face him again. "This was unexpected. But thank you for not making it weird." Nathan chuckled. Thank you for rescuing me from a very expensive, very lonely steak. She smiled. Maybe next time we'll bring juice. He raised an eyebrow. Next time? Claire hesitated. Then, with a small shrug, we'll see. With that, she turned and walked out into the night, Lily's head resting against her shoulder. Nathan stood there a moment longer, watching them disappear down the sidewalk. He didn't even notice the maitre d', asking if he was ready to leave. His mind was still replaying one line in a child's voice. Mommy's single. She needs a man. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel alone. And more surprisingly, he didn't want to be. The soft purr of the elevator echoed as it ascended to the top floor of the Cole Tower penthouse, its sleek mirrors reflecting the man leaning casually against the back wall. Tie loosened, jacket slung over one shoulder, eyes distant. Nathan Cole barely noticed when the doors opened. He stepped out into his expansive home, greeted by the familiar hush of marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a panoramic view of the city skyline. The penthouse was the kind of place that made architects drool, modern, cold, precise. Every piece of furniture had been handpicked by a designer. Everything spotless. And tonight it all felt empty. Nathan dropped his keys into the glass bowl by the door, then loosened the remaining buttons of his collar. He walked past the chrome and glass bar cart without even looking at it. Instead, he opened the fridge and grabbed a bottle of water. As he took a sip, his phone vibrated on the kitchen island. Zoe, his executive assistant. Hope the date wasn't a total disaster. Want me to blacklist her from the reservation system? He smirked at the screen, typed out a quick reply. Didn't show. But I met someone better. 3 dots pulsed. Oh, do I need to schedule something? Nathan stared at the screen, then locked it without answering. He didn't know what he wanted yet, but he knew he wanted more. Across the city, in a modest 2-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, Claire was tucking Lily into bed. The girl's curls were a sleepy tangle against her pillow, her toy giraffe clutched under one arm. Claire sat beside her, stroking her back gently. Mommy, Lily mumbled, half asleep. Is that man coming to dinner again? Claire blinked. She looked down at her daughter, who was already drifting off, breathing soft and steady. The question lingered in the air like steam from a forgotten kettle. She didn't answer, just kissed Lily's forehead and pulled the blanket up to her chin. The next morning, Nathan stood by the window of his office on the 46th floor of Cole Industries, staring out at the city, coffee in hand. Behind him, Zoe tapped away on her tablet, rattling off meetings, investor calls, and a dinner with the mayor's office. He wasn't listening. Do you know anything about a cafe called Juniper and Sage? Zoe stopped mid-scroll. Is this a business inquiry or a craving for overpriced avocado toast? He turned, smirking. Can it be both? Zoe narrowed her eyes. Who is she? Nathan didn't answer. Instead, he said, I need the name of the owner. And if there's a Claire Bennett on the staff list. Zoe arched a brow. Are we stalking now? He shrugged. Research. An hour later, the file landed on his desk. Thin, not corporate. Just the basics, Claire Bennett. 29, pediatric nurse. Works part-time at Juniper and Sage on weekends. Lives in Midtown. 1 child, Lily. Nathan skimmed it twice. The more he read, the more intrigued he became. No drama. No socialite past. No suspicious Google results. Just real life. He liked that. So when lunch hour rolled around, Nathan left the building without telling anyone. Juniper and Sage was cozy, filled with the scent of coffee beans and cinnamon, its mismatched chairs and wildflower vases lending a charm entirely opposite of the boardrooms he was used to. Claire was there, behind the counter, apron tied around her waist, hair pulled up in a casual bun. She was laughing with a co-worker, wiping her hands on a towel. She hadn't seen him yet. Nathan hesitated at the door. He should leave. What was he even doing here? But then Claire looked up, and their eyes met. Her smile faltered. Not in a bad way, just surprised. He raised a hand in greeting, stepping forward. Coincidence? She asked dryly as he approached the counter. Absolutely, he lied. She crossed her arms. Really? Did fate also book you an Uber to Midtown? He chuckled. Maybe I was craving the weird green grape juice. Claire gave a soft laugh, then nodded toward the empty stool by the window. You want something to drink? Black coffee. No frills. She got to work, and he watched her, noticed how her sleeves were rolled up, exposing a small birthmark on her forearm. How she moved fast, like someone used to doing everything herself. How she glanced up every few seconds, as if trying not to look like she was checking on him. When she brought the mug to his table, she said nothing. Just placed it down and wiped her hands again. Lily still asleep when you got home? He asked. Claire nodded. Out like a light. You made an impression. I'm good with board meetings. Kids, not so much. You did fine. A pause. Then, why are you really here, Nathan? He looked at her directly. I don't know. But I wanted to be. Claire stared at him for a moment. He saw something in her eyes, a flicker of softness, chased quickly by caution. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I don't do this. Do what? Let people in. Especially men I meet in restaurants after my kid embarrasses me in public. He nodded. That's fair. I've been through things. Lily has too. So if this is some curious detour for you, I can't afford that. Nathan's voice was quiet. It's not a detour. Claire seemed to study him, like she was trying to see past the expensive coat, the Rolex, the reputation. Then she said something that made him sit back. You don't seem like a man who eats alone. But maybe, you've been alone a long time. The words hit harder than he expected. He didn't answer. Claire nodded, as if she'd gotten all the confirmation she needed. Then she walked away, back behind the counter, just as the bell above the cafe door jingled with a new customer. Nathan sat there a while longer, nursing his black coffee. No deals. No pitches. No agenda. Just the lingering sense that he didn't want this to be the last time. The next 2 weeks passed like pages slowly turning. Small moments that didn't look like much from the outside, but meant everything to the people inside them. Nathan showed up again at Juniper and Sage the following weekend. Then again the next. He never stayed long, and never pushed conversation past what felt natural. Sometimes he'd order a coffee and just sit by the window with a book, always glancing up when Claire passed. And Claire watched him. Not in the way she'd watched other men, with suspicion, with her instinct for red flags sharpened from past experience. No, with Nathan, she watched in curiosity, in hesitation, in slow, reluctant hope. One afternoon, as she wiped down tables near closing time, her co-worker, Marcy, a playful redhead with too many opinions, nudged her. So what's the deal with Mr. Coffee and Cufflinks? Claire shot her a look. There is no deal. Marcy leaned on the broom handle. He's been here 3 times this week. He looks like a man who owns half of Manhattan and doesn't know what oat milk is. That's not a drop-in for latte kind of man. Claire sighed, glancing across the cafe. Nathan was reading quietly, pen tapping the edge of his notebook. Not a tablet. Not a phone. A notebook. She couldn't decide if it was charming or infuriating. He's just around, she muttered. Marcy smirked. Uh-huh. Around you. Claire shook her head and walked off, but the comment lingered. That same evening, Nathan stood in the quiet of his penthouse kitchen, staring down at his phone. His brother, Elliot, had texted. Dinner Sunday. Family only. Don't bring one of your projects. Nathan didn't reply. His family, old money, old rules. Even though Nathan had multiplied their fortune tenfold with coal industries, he was still the youngest, the outsider. They tolerated his success, but never his independence. He set the phone down and looked around his perfectly lit, perfectly designed apartment. Glass walls, modern furniture, curated art. No laughter. No mess. No life. His mind wandered back to the image of Claire wiping flour off her apron, laughing when Lily tried to stir hot cocoa with a straw. She wasn't a socialite. She wasn't polished to impress. But somehow, in that messy little cafe, he'd felt closer to something real than he ever had in a room full of luxury. A few days later, Claire walked Lily into her elementary school classroom and kissed her cheek. Be good, okay? Lily nodded. Can Mr. Nathan come to the museum on Friday? Claire froze mid-step. What? The teacher said we can bring a grown-up. Can he come with us? Claire crouched down. Sweetie, Nathan's very busy. But he said he liked museums. And you like him? Claire's heart stuttered. I do. Lily shrugged. You wear makeup on Tuesdays now. Claire couldn't help the laugh that slipped out. Go to class, little detective. As Lily ran off, Claire stood there a moment, struck by how much her daughter noticed, how much she understood. And maybe, how much she was rooting for something. On Thursday evening, Claire opened the door to find Nathan on her porch holding a paper bag. I brought dinner, he said, lifting the bag. Hope you like Thai. Claire blinked, caught off guard. How did you get my address? He raised an eyebrow. You forgot your scarf last week. Your manager gave it to me. She frowned. You bribed him. Nathan looked entirely unbothered. Loosely. Claire stepped aside. You're lucky Lily isn't awake. She would have interrogated you. I think I could handle her. Claire gave him a pointed look. She's 5 and broke a pastor in 6 minutes. Nathan chuckled. I'll take my chances. He followed her into the modest apartment. Cozy. Lived in. Toys in the corner. Magnets on the fridge, laundry basket half full on the couch. He liked it immediately. They sat at the kitchen table, unpacking the takeout. For a while, they just ate in silence. Then Nathan asked softly, Do you always do everything alone? Claire's fork paused. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, People tend to leave. You learn to stop waiting for help. Nathan set down his chopsticks. That sounds exhausting. It is. But it's safer. She wasn't looking at him. He could tell this wasn't easy for her. He didn't push. I want to take you out, he said finally. Claire looked up, cautious. Like a date. Like something where we both know what it is. No coffee shop accidents. Just you and me. Claire hesitated. Her past rose behind her eyes like smoke. Her ex, Darren, had started charming too. Until he didn't need to be anymore. Nathan, I have to be honest, she said, voice low. I don't know how to date someone like you. Like me? She gestured vaguely. Suits. Cars. The world you live in. I'm not your type. He studied her. Maybe I'm done with my type. Claire searched his face, looking for signs of pity or manipulation. Found neither. She exhaled. If I say yes, this can't be a game. Lily's already attached. I can't afford to let her down. Nathan's voice was steady. I don't play games. Not with you. Not with her. Claire looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. They didn't hug. But there was something between them now. A quiet agreement, forged not in romance, but in honesty. And for the first time in a long time, Claire let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this might be real. The sky was already darkening when Claire stepped out of Lily's school, clutching her phone to her ear and her coat tighter around her shoulders. The air carried that damp, biting chill that made even October feel like winter's warning. I understand, she said into the phone, trying to stay calm. But the tow truck said 40 minutes. I just need someone to come get my daughter. On the other end, her sister apologized, again, for being out of town. Her neighbor wasn't answering. Her manager at the hospital had a sick child of her own. Claire's car sat dead across the street, hood still propped open like a wound. The engine had coughed and quit just as she'd pulled into the school parking lot. And now it sat there mocking her as the sky turned slate gray. She looked at her watch. 5:14 p.m. Lily's after-school club would be ending any minute now. She sighed and ended the call, staring at her contact list. And then, without allowing herself to second-guess it, she tapped the name she'd been avoiding for the last few days. Nathan Cole. He picked up on the second ring. Claire? She hadn't even said hello yet. Just the sound of his voice, calm, steady, direct, made something inside her uncoil. I need a favor, she said, the words stiff in her throat. 10 minutes later, a sleek black SUV pulled up beside the curb, smooth as a secret. The window rolled down and Nathan leaned across the passenger seat. Hop in. Claire opened the door, sliding in with a sigh. Thanks. I didn't know who else to call. You don't owe me an explanation, he said, glancing over at her. But I'm glad you did. They drove in silence for a few minutes. She noticed he kept the music low and the heat just warm enough. It was a small thing, but thoughtful. You didn't have to drop everything, she said quietly. Nathan glanced over, eyes soft. You called. That's all that matters. Claire's throat tightened. When they reached the school, Lily was waiting inside the foyer with her backpack and a paper crown on her head. Mr. Nathan, she called out as she spotted him through the window. He smiled as he stepped out of the car. Your Majesty, she beamed, hopping into his arms like it was the most natural thing in the world. Claire watched, a flicker of disbelief crossing her face. Lily didn't even flinch. She trusted him, and it scared Claire more than it comforted her. Later that evening, Claire invited him in, not because she felt obligated, but because she wanted him there. Their apartment was warm, if cluttered, with dishes drying by the sink and Lily's crayons scattered across the living room floor. Nathan stepped over a stuffed animal and smiled. Claire noticed. You're judging my chaos. Not at all, he said, crouching to pick up a purple crayon and hand it to Lily. It's refreshing. They sat around the small table in the kitchen, eating a dinner Claire had slapped together out of macaroni, frozen peas, and leftover chicken. Nathan didn't complain once. In fact, he cleaned his plate. You know this is peasant food, right? Claire asked, teasing. Then I've been overpaying my chefs, he replied, grinning. Lily was the one who suggested a movie afterward. Claire almost declined. Lily's bedtime was soon. But Nathan looked so at ease stretched across the couch, Lily curled under his arm with her paper crown still in place, that she let it happen. Claire watched them from the kitchen, one hand on her teacup, heart twisting. This wasn't casual. This wasn't a fling. This was dangerously close to something she had promised herself she'd never do again. Let someone in. She made her way to the couch, sat on the other side of Lily. Her daughter's soft breathing soon signaled she was asleep. Nathan turned down the volume, his voice low. She's something else. She's my entire world, Claire said without hesitation. Nathan looked at her, really looked at her. I can see that. There was a pause. He seemed to be waiting for something, but didn't press. So she spoke. My ex, he wasn't like this at first. He was charming, funny, thoughtful. Then one day he wasn't. Nathan didn't move, didn't interrupt. I spent 3 years trying to shrink myself to keep him calm, she continued. And another 2 rebuilding everything after I finally left. Lily doesn't even remember most of it. Thank God. Nathan's voice was barely a whisper. And now you carry everything. Claire gave a tired smile. You get used to carrying. Nathan reached forward and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. You shouldn't have to. The room stilled. Claire looked down at her daughter between them. Then at Nathan. Then, as if pulled by something she didn't quite understand, she said, I want to believe you're different. But I don't know how to trust that yet. Nathan didn't flinch. You don't have to trust me all at once. Just don't shut the door. Claire studied his face, and for the first time in years, she believed someone might actually mean what they said. I won't, she said softly. They sat there in silence, the glow of the movie flickering across their faces. Lily shifted in her sleep, one hand gripping Nathan's shirt. He didn't move. And in that small, quiet moment, something shifted. Not a grand declaration. Not fireworks. But the beginning of something real. The Cole family estate sat at the edge of the Hudson, a sprawling, manicured compound passed down through 4 generations of New York legacy. It wasn't a home. It was an institution. Designed to impress, not comfort. Nathan parked his car in front of the main house and stared at the massive doors that had never once felt inviting. The family dinner had been scheduled under the guise of celebration. His brother Elliot's new investment firm had closed a major international deal, and their parents wanted a photo op wrapped in roast duck and forced smiles. Nathan knew what this really was. A lineup. An ambush. He straightened his collar, sighed, and stepped out of the car. Inside, the dining room gleamed, crystal chandeliers overhead, a table set like something out of a royal banquet, every piece of silver polished to military precision. His mother, Vivian, stood at the far end, wrapped in her signature silk shawl, hair swept back, pearls gleaming at her throat. "Nathan," she said, kissing his cheek like a diplomat greeting a rival. "You look tired. Working too much." He gave a polite smile. "You always say that. It's always true." Elliot, already seated, raised a glass. "Our prodigal tech prince arrives." Nathan gave him a dry nod and took a seat. Dinner began smoothly, safe topics, business talk, champagne. But halfway through the entree, the temperature shifted. Vivian set down her fork. "I heard you've been spending time with someone. A single mother. Works in a cafe. Or was it a clinic?" Nathan didn't look up from his plate. "Both." Vivian's lips tightened. "Interesting choice." Elliot added with a smirk. "I didn't realize you were going through a philanthropy phase." Nathan put his utensils down, wiped his mouth, and leaned back. "I'm not." "Then what is it?" Vivian asked, not unkindly, but not kindly either. "This isn't the type of woman you build a future with, Nathan. You know that." Nathan's jaw flexed. "And what type would that be? The one you approve of? The one with a debutante resume and a last name longer than the guest list?" Vivian's eyes turned sharp. "We're only thinking of your position. Your name carries weight. It matters who you bring into our world." "She's not a who," Nathan said quietly. "Her name is Claire, and her daughter's name is Lily." Vivian's expression faltered for just a moment, enough for Nathan to catch it. "I don't need your permission," he added. "I came for dinner, not for a board vote on my personal life." Elliot raised his glass again mockingly. "To rebellion." Nathan stood. "To dignity." He left before dessert was served. The air outside felt cooler than it had going in, or maybe it was just the fire in his chest. Nathan drove for a while without direction, hands tight on the wheel, his mind repeating every look, every veiled insult from dinner. He thought of Claire, how honest she was, how fiercely she loved her daughter, how she never once asked for anything from him. And somehow, she was the one they couldn't accept. He wasn't going to let them define her. At that same hour, Claire stood in her bathroom mirror, wiping off her makeup. Lily had gone to bed hours ago, after a museum field trip Nathan had insisted on joining, and made unforgettable. He'd held Lily's hand through the dinosaur exhibits, bought her a stuffed velociraptor, and somehow made every mom there look at Claire with a new kind of envy. He was gentle, thoughtful, easy with kids in a way that didn't feel practiced. But it was also too perfect. And perfection had always meant danger. She stared at her reflection, the ghost of a smile still on her lips from earlier. The way Lily had fallen asleep on Nathan's shoulder in the car, the way he'd brushed a lock of hair from her eyes like he'd done it 100 times. Claire turned off the light. In the dark, the old voice came back. "Don't fall. Don't trust. Don't forget how it ended last time." The next morning, Nathan texted her. "Dinner tonight? You, me, and the tiny dinosaur whisperer?" No response. He tried calling around noon. Straight to voicemail. By the time evening came, he was standing outside her apartment building, pacing. When Claire finally opened the door, her expression told him everything. She didn't invite him in. "Hey," she said softly. "Sorry I didn't answer." He studied her. She was already pulling away. He could feel it in the silence between them. "Something happen?" he asked. She hesitated. Then, "I think we're moving too fast." Nathan's jaw tensed. "Because of me or because of them?" Claire looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "My family. I know what they're saying." Her silence confirmed it. "I don't care what they think," he said. "But if you do." "It's not about them," she snapped. Then softened. "It's about me. And Lily. I need to protect her. I can't bring someone in who might decide this is too complicated later." Nathan stepped forward. "Claire, I'm not leaving because things are complicated. I'm here because I want to be. You don't scare me." "But I scare me," she whispered. The words hung in the air. He reached for her hand, gently, carefully. Then let me be the one who stays even when it's hard. Let me prove you wrong. Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't step back. Still, she didn't step forward either. I just need space, she whispered. He nodded once, though it nearly crushed him. Okay. Then he did what was hardest of all. He turned and walked away. Claire stood at the door long after he disappeared from view. Her heart ached, but it was a pain she knew, the kind that came from pushing something good away before it could hurt you. But the silence he left behind didn't feel like safety. It felt like loss. Rain tapped gently against the window of Claire's bedroom, steady and rhythmic like a song meant for long thoughts and late nights. She sat curled up at the edge of her bed, legs tucked beneath her, a blanket draped over her shoulders. Her fingers grazed the rim of her tea mug, long gone cold. She hadn't seen Nathan in 10 days. 10 days since she'd stood at her doorway and asked for space. 10 days since she'd watched him walk away with no bitterness, no pressure. Just that quiet look in his eyes that had said, "I'll wait." And he had. Sort of. He hadn't texted. He hadn't called. But every morning, a small box was left at her doorstep. Always something for Lily. A tiny watercolor paint set. A book about space. A pair of socks with dancing dinosaurs. No notes. No declarations. Just presents. One night, when she came home late from a shift at the hospital, she found Lily already asleep with a note in her hand. In Nathan's handwriting, bold and clean. You're braver than you think. And you're not alone. Claire sat on the floor beside her daughter's bed and cried for 20 minutes. On a Saturday morning, sunlight pouring through the blinds like forgiveness, Claire stood in front of her mirror and made a decision. She pulled out a dress she hadn't worn in years, soft blue cotton, simple, honest. Not sexy. Not strategic. Just her. Lily peeked into the room and grinned. Are we going somewhere? Claire turned and smiled. Yeah, we are. Nathan was in the kitchen of his penthouse, still in a t-shirt and sweatpants, brewing coffee when his security system pinged. A visitor at the door. He frowned. No one ever just showed up. He opened the door without checking the camera feed. And there she was. Claire. And Lily, holding a Tupperware container. Nathan blinked. Are you real? Claire gave a sheepish smile. As real as Saturday pancakes. Lily held up the container. We brought you breakfast. Mommy made the good kind. With cinnamon. Nathan stepped back instinctively, letting them in. Claire's eyes scanned the space like she was seeing it for the first time. It was the same modern, expensive minimalist. But this time, Lily's sneakers were squeaking on the marble floor, and Claire's laughter echoed off the high ceilings. Something was different. Lived in. Human. Nathan knelt down to Lily's height. Did you help cook? Lily nodded proudly. I stirred. And didn't even spill. That's serious chef work. Claire stood behind them, watching. Waiting. Nathan rose to face her, his expression unreadable. I wasn't sure if I'd see you again, he said quietly. Claire's voice trembled, but her eyes were steady. I thought I was protecting myself. But all I was doing was keeping something beautiful from happening. You were scared. I still am, she admitted. But I realized something. Fear doesn't mean stop. Sometimes it means go slower. Just go together. Nathan didn't respond right away. He stepped closer, close enough that she could hear his breath, feel the heat of him. Claire, I never wanted to rush you. I just didn't want to pretend like this didn't mean something. She nodded. It does. It means everything. Then, reaching into her coat pocket, she pulled out a key. Simple. Silver. She held it in her palm. It's not to my apartment, she said. It's to my world. You don't need to take it now. But it's yours. Nathan took the key slowly, reverently. And if I want to open the door now? Claire stepped forward. Her voice was barely a whisper. Then walk through it. He kissed her. Not the passionate, desperate kind from movies. But something gentler. More sacred. Like a promise. Lily let out a loud, "You wow," from the kitchen. They broke apart laughing. That afternoon, they sat together in the park. Nathan in jeans and sneakers, Lily perched on his shoulders, Claire beside him on the bench, their hands laced together. A few people recognized Nathan. A couple snapped photos. But he didn't care. Because for the first time in his life, he wasn't posing. He was present. Lily leaned down from his shoulders and whispered something into his ear. He turned to Claire, confused. She just asked if I can walk her down the aisle one day. Claire gasped. Lily. The little girl giggled. Well, you're kind of like a dad now. Claire's eyes welled up, and Nathan reached up to hold Lily's hand. Then I guess I'd better get good at it. They stayed there long into the afternoon, the three of them. No longer strangers. No longer afraid. Just a man, a woman, and a little girl who dared to speak the truth first. Mommy's single. She needs a man. And love had answered. We have come to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories.